working on a 2003 Subaru Forester. This information could also be used on any of the manual transmission 5-speed vehicles from the late 90s to the late 2000s. It's a pretty common code, which has to do with the idle. If you're shifting gears and then you notice that the idle fluctuates, that's either your most likely, if it's gear shifting related, you probably have a problem. You probably have a problem with your neutral position switch or gear selection switch. That's this one right here. There's two of them on the left side of the gearbox. The right side of the gearbox, that is the right there. That is the speedo sensor. Tells the computer and whatnot how fast you're going and gives you a readout. And this side, you have two switches. This switch on the towards the front of the vehicle, that would be the reverse light switch or backup light switch, and this one towards the back of the vehicle is the neutral switch, neutral position, not to be confused with the neutral safety switch, which is on the clutch pedal. This is not that. That one helps you start the car. This one tells the computer when you're in gear, so that if it pops out of gear, I believe your cruise control will shut off. And it will also it helps with the idle system. Okay, so what happens when it's in gear or not in gear, it will switch. You know, when it's in the middle of the selector, it'll switch. The switch will be on or off, you know. So to take this off, you use a 19 millimeter. I already loosened it up. I'm not that strong. And to break it loose, and then you just twist it off here. And the wire is located at the front of the transmission under the airbox, and it's going to be the brown connector. Okay, and as you can see here, it has a little switch. It pushes in and it will cause a contact, and then when it lets go, it should be open. Let's go test the one that's in the car. Okay, so I have this thing set up to test. We're gonna push the button and this will show continuity, and it's not. So that switch is bad. And I'm gonna connect the new one right here. It's the new switch. So that switch is working. This is the part number. The old part number had a 3, I believe, at the end. This is the superseded one. This is the new one. It's higher quality and it works better. You should expect to pay between 38 to 70 bucks for this part, depending on where you are. All right, so that's the part number. That's the one you want to replace it with, not the older one. Older one's going to fail. And the code that you usually have a problem, it's a p0519. p0519 is for the idle control system, and just by changing that switch, you'll fix the problem most of the time. I recommend cleaning the idle control valve at the same time, but this is usually the problem. I would take the switch out like I did, or just move it around in gear and then hook up the lead to a tool like this and just put it in gear and then into neutral, and it should get continuity like a switch. If it doesn't, then you need a new one. So let's get this show on the road. Okay, we're gonna put the new unit in with a fresh gasket or seal, washer, whatever you want to call it. Same way as we took it out. And I'm going to save you the trouble of installing this down here, because that's pretty boring. So I'm going to tighten this up, install it, and then we're going to check it on our scanner. This thing's going down. So it's located down here. Here's the thing that we just replaced. And I'm going to plug it in here with one hand because I got skills. There we go, it's plugged in. As you can see, the brown one is for the neutral switch, the gear selector switch, and the gray one with the red wires is for the backup. And then this one has three. There's the 3-wire, that's the speed sensor. So these two switches down here, they have 2 wires. So this is the one we're changing, and that's going to affect the idle. This is the idle air control valve, the main one, and this is the air jet valve right here. Here's the gear selector. So what that switch does is when it's in neutral, the switch is not doing anything, and when you move it in gear, then it changes. It tells the computer, hey, you're in gear, hey, you're in neutral. Alright, I'm going to hook up a scanner so that we can see what's going on. Okay guys, got the scanner hooked up here. This is a data feed. You can see right here we have the neutral position switch on. I'm going to push the clutch in, see? Nothing is happening. It's still on. And I'm going to move the selector up. See? Now it's off. So the switch is on when it's in neutral, and it's off when you move it into gear, and that's going to affect the idle. That'll throw an idle code. So if you're driving along and your RPMs are going whoa, 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 or it stumbles or stalls even when you're shifting through the gears or at a stoplight, when it's in neutral and your shifter's in the neutral position, starts acting erratically, you might want to look into the neutral switch, because the switch actually adjusts the idle. It'll throw off the idle if it thinks it's in gear versus it thinks it's in neutral. It'll start jumping up and down. So, and it's a very common problem with these, so don't think that you're immune just because, you know, whatever. It's actually a very common problem. If you have an idle air control problem, or it actually says the gear selector switch or the neutral switch code is coming up, then you should definitely switch this part out and save yourself a lot of headache. Okay? If this video, I know it's going to help a lot of you, because this is a very common problem. And it'll also, this problem can also keep you from passing smog in some cases. A lot of times you're trying to drive your car around to get the car ready to smog it for the readiness test. It may not pass the catalytic converters or the O2 sensors or anything like that, just because the switch is bad, and it'll be fluctuating and you'll feel smog. You won't have a smooth idle. So change that part before you start spending a bunch of money on other things. if this video helps you, hey, write a comment, say, hey, this helped me, or hey, or you can say, hey, dumbass, you don't know what you're talking about, and tell me why I don't know what I'm talking about, because I want to know. All right. I like to learn, but this time I do. Okay, not every time, but this time. And if you have more information, more details, let me know in the comments, please. And click on the like button. You know, spread this around, post this up on the forum, whatever. Anyway, love, peace, and chicken grease, people.